everybody, and welcome to Late Night News with GoIndieNow. I am Joe Compton,
And I am Katie SALIDAS.
and we are here to talk. We've got a jam-packed show, Katie. It's amazing. We've got a lot of things to talk about, so why not just jump right in, huh? Let's get started, huh? So our top story to this month, I should say, tonight as well, is a little something that is good news for once. We're going to start with good news today. How about that? Huh? Yes, we have ourselves a little bit of protection when it comes to copyrights. If you didn't know, the Case Act was passed by Congress earlier in the end of 2020, and then ratified and passed by the Senate, and then, of course, signed by the former president, President Trump, and put into act. There was also part of the COVID initiative and all the bills, all the things that were folded into there. And for people who don't know what the Case Act is, it stands for Copyright Alternative and Small Claims Court, or excuse me, Small Claims Enforcement Act of 2019. It passed the House overwhelmingly, 410 to 6. Whoever the 6 people are look like heels, really. But anyway, it passed. It's not something that's been new, actually. It's been introduced to Congress several times over, the last 5 years especially, and it's never gotten out of committee. So for it to get this far is a very, very cool thing. The Authors Guild actually put out a statement regarding this, and the Guild president, Doug Preston, said the Case Act is a very important win for authors. It gives them practical channel for seeking remedies for violation of their rights. Until now, authors and other creators had no way to enforce their rights except to bring expensive federal lawsuits. This has left writers with no ability to fight pirates or big companies who can out-litigate them for stealing their work. And that's basically what has happened. So for people who don't know about copyright law is a federal mandated law. So that means that any claims or anything that had to happen with copyright had to go through federal court. And of course, that process is not only just tedious, but is massively expensive. People were spending up to $30,000 in lawyer fees and processing fees and things of that nature to get their copyright grievance heard. Well, now with the Case Act, what it's done is it's created, and I hate this name, I don't know why they call it the tribunal, but Case Act Tribunal, which is 3 people that they've assigned to a small little office that will hear only copyright infringement requests, and they will decide whether it will go to small claims court or to the federal level. And most of them will funnel into the small claims because, of course, they want this program to be successful because they want to keep their jobs. So they're going to do a lot of this. And in small claims, the great thing that's the difference between small claims and federal court is that small claims is a nominal fee. It's usually the $100 to start the case, and you'll only spend up to about $300 to finish the case. So that is a vast difference from $30,000 to $300. And thus, this will create an opportunity for you, if you wanted to, if you really felt like you were infringed, to go ahead and do this. I've seen a lot of photographers and a lot of videographers and a lot of musicians really come out and support this. I watched quite a few YouTube videos from musicians, from painters, from photographers, who put their stuff on Pixabay and those things. And they're the ones who've been violated the most, to be quite honest. And so they're very, very happy for this act. There is one dissenting voice out there, which is weird because we are on YouTube, but YouTube creators is the one dissenting voice. And they're all about the idea that this is going to give YouTube an opportunity to tighten the tight grip that they've already had on copyrights, and really be able to name a price point in which you would have to pay for their library and their auto library to, use those things without enduring a copyright strike or, a warning of that nature or whatever, a claim, and thus, of course, demonetizing your video if you're a monetized YouTuber. So YouTubers are the only really dissenting voice here, and they have a subtle point, but really, if you're a YouTube monetized creator and you're not using like an Epidemic Sound or another company that license music for you and allows you to create without the worry of copyright, because I joined Epidemic Sound, and I can tell you right now, I have not had a copyright claim or strike against me since, for $15 a month, and I can pull from a library of like 50,000 songs. They're already licensed. They're already carrying a right to use license, and they also sell bigger licenses if you're a filmmaker, if you're somebody that way, so that you can use it for that purpose as well. But those are what's going on with the Case Act. And the Case Act is also very interesting because the claims courts move a lot faster than federal court does too. So you're going to get your thing heard, and it won't run out of the statute of limitations. So that was a lot of things that was happening a lot. I've read a lot about the fact that people were complaining that their copyright, they had to renew their copyright, and that's going to cost them more money. And then they had to do, an ISBN relaunch and search and all these things to get all the information they needed for the copyright claim, and that cost them a lot of money. And so this will move it a lot faster. I think ultimately this is a really good thing for authors.
Yeah, the ability to enforce your copyright claim it's crucial for any creator, not just authors out there, but any creator, because piracy happens. We've seen in the book realm a lot of issues right now with plagiarism and theft of complete books. And it's hard for authors to enforce their claims. We've also seen book cover artists. We've seen, like you said, photographers. So the ability to protect your work is important. And the ability to not go broke while protecting your work is even more important.
And I would say to anybody out there creating, especially on YouTube or somewhere where you're going to have a public viewing of what you're doing, it's a simple email to the creator. You never know. The creator may just give you the right to use it, but do the right thing, get the permission. And if you don't get the permission, make sure you give the credit, and you should be getting the permission, but give credit as well. You need to give the credit on top of that.
Don't just do it and give credit if you don't have permission.
Right.
That's still a no-no. And that goes, I run into this. I run into this issue a lot as in my capacity as a book publishing coach, where people will come to me and they've got a book that they want laid out, but the images inside of it are downloaded from Google. And I have to go through the spiel of, you cannot use these images if you don't have the rights. I don't care if you found it on an internet search. If you do not have the right to the image, please do not put it in your book. And I will not format your book if it has illegal images in it. Yeah. So you've got to definitely protect yourself and protect your work.
Yeah. Well, speaking of infringing on our rights, we have quite the update to give you on Audiblegate. Things have blown the fuck up, and Katie is here to talk all about that.
That's right. As promised, I told you guys I didn't have much to say last month, but we do have some news this month, so I'm about to give it all to you. But let's start off with a little recap for any of you out there who don't know what Audiblegate is. This is an issue that erupted in October of 2020 after authors discovered that Audible had been deducting returns from their sales to the tune of up to 50% of their earnings. This happened because of Audible's Great Listener Guarantee, which allows subscribers to return or exchange an audiobook for 365 days, no questions asked. Now, once that book was returned, the author and narrator, who are the rights holders for that book, they had their royalties pulled back. And that created negative numbers on that rights holders sales dashboard. So when we look at our sales dashboard, we just see a net amount for sales. We don't see how many of those were sales, how many were returned, and then another number. We just see one number, and often it was going negative. So accounting of the returns wasn't clear. If you have X number of sales and X number of returns, but you can't verify which is which, then there's no transparency. There's no way for us to see the actual truth, how many of the returns were affecting us, and be able to come at Audible, ACX, it's all an Amazon company, with the request for, compensation or to fix this problem. So no way to see why these numbers were going negative caused the Audiblegate issue. And author Susan May broke the story back in October and created the Facebook group, The Fair Deal for Authors and Rights Holders and Narrators. And this is also now turned into a professional page on Facebook, which is just titled Audiblegate, easy to find. By November, Audiblegate was trending on social media. The Authors Guilds began to join into the fight. So we had the US Authors Guild, we had the UK Society of Authors, and we had the big ones, the Alliance of Independent Authors, who have been like the real heroes the whole time. They have been at our back helping us with almost everything in this process. So as that was moving forward in late November, there were some meetings scheduled. Audible ACX issued a statement that they would compensate authors an extra 5% on any sales in December. And in January, they would stop pulling back royalties from books returned after 7 days. Note that that's just pulling the royalties back. They're not stopping the Great Listener Guarantee. Users can still return a book for up to 365 days, no questions asked. What Audible and ACX are saying is that after January 1st, anything before that doesn't count. After January 1st, they'll stop pulling royalties back for any books that are 7 days returned. So make sure you understand that after January 1st. So any book that was sold on December 31st of 2020 has 365 days that it can be returned before it goes out of its return date. So expect returns on your Audible dashboard until December 31st, 2021, because you're still going to be affected by this. Any sales that happened after January 1st fall into that 7-day period. This is very important to know. So in December, moving forward, Authors Guild met with Audible's CEO, Bob Carrington, and they tried to work on the issue. They presented our petition. The petition that we talked about many, many times had over 13,000 signatures on it. This was good. This was huge. We were all joining in the fight to hopefully get some change. We were told, the Authors Guilds were told that Audible would be updating us in December. As you guys know, because we didn't have any updates to tell you, that update never came. When we finally did get an update was late in January after another meeting had been scheduled with the Authors Guilds and ACX, and that meeting was canceled at the last minute. So they did send us out a notice in January, I want to say it was 21st or 22nd, and in that update, ACX did say that they are going to be retooling their financial reporting system. So in March, you should start to see some details on the return units by title. Hopefully it's an exact sales versus returns for all the categories, because if you're in ACX, there's 3 different sales categories that you have to look at. So hopefully we'll be getting 3 different sales and 3 different returns. Until we see it, we won't know for sure, but we will update you when we find out. Also, along with that, they made the statement again, January 1st moving forward, 7 days return. Anything more than 7 days returned after purchase will not get a royalty pullback from the author. So there is some silver lining there, not much, because as we know, it doesn't take that long to listen to an audiobook. And a user can still, they have 365 days to return them. They can still go through the rounds and listen to an entire author's backlist in a week if they wanted to, technically for free using their system.
Yep.
That's the crappy point. Let's see. One more thing. Effective February 1st, and this one wasn't something we had asked for, but this is an interesting point. February 1st, all rights holders of the do-it-yourself or the pay-for-production titles that have been on sale for more than 90 days can now convert their distribution to non-exclusive. This is a good thing for us because it allows our authors, our narrators, our rights holders to not only go wide with their books, but to pull them back and find a new channel to put their books on. Now, for those of us who are in the royalty share or royalty share plus, where instead of paying ahead of time for the author or for the narrator's time, we're sharing the royalties. Get with your producer, get with your narrator, and see if you can either buy out a contract with them, whatever you have to do to get their consent. And with their consent, you can also go back to ACX and pull yourself out or move yourself into the wide. Now, a lot of people are moving completely off the platform. That's up to you on what to do. But it does allow you the freedom of choice, which is something we didn't have before. And again, this wasn't initially in our ask of ACX. This was kind of an appeasement they threw at us, and it's okay. It's you know, it allows us a little more freedom to move, but it still hasn't given us the transparency, and it still hasn't corrected the returns issue. So where we're at right now on the issue, Orna Ross of the Alliance of Independent Authors has said that in canceling their meeting with Audible, ACX did concede some changes, which I just outlined, to their terms and conditions. To date, the worst by far was in the publishing sector, most notably the shortening of their exclusivity term and the end of their notorious 7-year rights lock-in. Both of these were unique to ACX Audible and made them vulnerable to legal challenges. So it is a partial win for us. So definitely a positive thing. The key takeaway here, though, is that none of the concessions that were made by Audible have made any real impact to authors, nor have they created any burden or hardship on Audible or ACX. So they're not given a lot. The concessions they made really were more of a CYA for them, and really aren't affecting their bottom line. Again, if a user returns a book, they get the credit for the next book. It doesn't cost Audible anything. Audible doesn't produce the content. Audible hosts the content. So pulling back from the authors, whether it's that 365 days we have to wait for December 31st to finally end, or whether it's a user returning a book within that 7-day period, we're still being affected by that. So they still need to fix that. Here's what we had originally asked for. In our public letter, we asked for them to provide full and complete accounting of returns. So that is sales in all 3 of their sales categories, as well as the returns for all of those categories. So we know the exact number of books that are being sold and pulled back, and we can kind of follow it and find out why. We want them to limit the time period of returns. 365 days is ridiculous. That's their good listener guarantees, what they call it. That is an absolutely ridiculous amount of time to be able to return a book, especially if they've listened to the book fully. So we want them to correct that. We also want to show the total numbers of units purchased on the author dashboard, not just net numbers. We want actual numbers. And we need them to start taking action for the abuse of the return system. So let's take a look real quick at the facts on this. Despite the concession that they were moving forward on January 1st, not clawing back the author's earnings, they're still sticking with the 365-day returns. That's their great listener guarantee. So regardless of what they're telling us, they're still keeping it. So we absolutely need to know these sales and return numbers to be able to accurately tell whether they're following what they said they were doing. Audible assures us, oh no, this is fine. Nobody abuses the system. We know better. We've seen better. The group on Facebook, Fair Deal for Authors and Rights Holders, has proven time and time again there are tons of groups out there that regularly abuse the system, that teach other people how to abuse this system, and don't care if authors are hurt by it at all. Audible and ACX, they also claim that their return terms are within industry standards. Now, this one is hilarious, and credit for this goes to author Susan May. She made this list, and it definitely needs to be heard. So their returns are within industry standards. Amazon Prime, again, Audible and ACX are an Amazon company. Amazon Prime videos have a 48-hour 0% watch policy on returns. Amazon's digital educational resources are returnable within 7 days of purchase if they haven't been downloaded. Games, software downloads, purchases from the Amazon App Store and the Amazon Digital Music Store or the Amazon Video Store are not returnable after purchase unless otherwise specified and within 48 hours if it hasn't been watched or downloaded. Google Play, they have an absolutely no return, all sales are final, except for in South Korea. There's a few other audiobook sellers out there that have a no return policy, and that's pretty much standard. So ACX, Audible, again, Amazon, they're all the same company. They're just different arms of them. They know what industry standards are. So they cannot tell us that this is within industry standards for audiobooks. That is just a bald-faced lie. So when asked how they intend to stop the abuse of their great listener guarantee that has been the catalyst of this problem all along, they said they will speak to their customer service people. Gee, that's great. Thank you. They also might not consider advertising the benefit of their great listener program, but let's be honest here. That is the backbone of their marketing tactic. So I don't see them really making any changes going forward. Again, though, we're still pushing. We still have the Authors Guild behind us. Now, when asked about limiting the returns, Audible and ACX also said that they can't do a percentage listened and return based off that because their system doesn't work like that. But let's remember how not long ago they had the Audible Escapes program, which did exactly that. It tracked listener time. So if they were able to do it before, why are they telling us they can't do it now? So again, they're really not giving us the truth here. And that's why we need to continue the fight. We need to keep going and we need to keep pushing for our fair deal. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for anything outrageous. We're looking to be treated fairly. And right now they are clearly not doing that. So as far as the transparency goes, I like the fact that they came out and said, yes, they're going to start showing us transparency on sales and returns on the dashboard, but we have to wait until March 1st to see that. Once we know more, and once we see what that transparency actually looks like, we'll be able to report further on how good it is and how beneficial it's going to be for authors going forward. We just don't know yet on what they're going to give us. So the adding the ability to pull back from their exclusivity and the ability to remove your titles, that's a good thing. It's not something we asked for, but it does help allow authors to move away from the platform should they want to and get their books wide. Audible's not the only game in town. They'd like you to think they are, but they're not the only game in town. There are a lot of other ways to listen to an audiobook. There are a lot of other channels to purchase audiobooks on. So we need to get more books in those other channels. And that is the one thing that's really going to teach Amazon, ACX, Audible, what they're doing wrong. And if they want to continue being a company that is used for this, they need to pony up and start treating authors and narrators, the rights holders, with respect. So as we learn more about this, I will let you know. It looks like our next update isn't going to be coming until March. But again, if there's something important to tell you, you know I'm going to report on it because I'm sticking very closely to this issue.
That's awesome. We'll talk a little bit about how some others are jumping into the game and sweetening the pot here in a moment. And we'll also talk about what's the news within Amazon with Mr. Bezos might affect what's going on as well. But with that being said, we're going to jump right into CL Cannon's monthly marketing tip. It's a really good one. It's about getting organized, which I know a lot of people have a problem with. So she's got some great solutions for you. So we'll do that and we'll be right back, everybody.
Hey guys, CL Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bring you another monthly marketing tip. Today I'm going to be talking about organization and time management, which I know is like the bane of writers' existence. I mean, how do we write stuff and then we market and we have to coordinate with cover designers and editors and blog tour companies, and it's a lot of stuff for one person to do, especially when you're self-publishing. You're doing so many things. So today I'm going to be talking about ways that you can organize. And I am a spreadsheet freak. I have spreadsheets for everything, for lists of bloggers. I have spreadsheets for people who do interviews. I have spreadsheets that track what promotions I'm currently doing for a book. I just love spreadsheets. You can do that with like if you have Microsoft, you can do it in Excel, but Excel is like the bane of my existence. So I always use Google Sheets because you can access it from anywhere and it's really convenient. I can do it on my phone. I can do it on my laptop, on my desktop, wherever I'm at, I can get to it and find my information and organize it really easily and always find it really, really quickly. So spreadsheets are one way that you can do that. And like I said, you can make different trackers for different things. There's all kinds of tips and tricks that I could probably show you for spreadsheets. I have things like check boxes for if someone's gotten back to me. I have little drop-down boxes that show me which book I'm talking about, and I have colored code things. So I'm like a very organized person when it comes to spreadsheets. There's a lot of things you can do, but if you want to just Google some of the tips and tricks and add-ons that you can do for Google Sheets, because they're like endless. I can make a whole video about them, and I probably will. But let's talk about some of the other ways that you can organize besides using spreadsheets. There are bullet journals, which I think helps motivate a lot of people. And when you have a bullet journal, it's usually just a kind of a blank page journal, and you write down what you're wanting to do for that day, and you cross it off after you have performed whatever you've written down that you need to do, or when you, it's like a visualization tool, I think, is what helps so many people, is they've got it written down right in front of them, and there's that satisfaction of taking your pen and just slicing right through it. And bullet journals help a lot of authors with their writing and also with their organization skills for marketing. So bullet journals is something you might want to look into if you especially are a very visual person and you want to X out or white out or however you want to get rid of that task that you just done, and it helps you kind of feel like you've accomplished something. And another thing that's similar to that I like to do is to-do lists, because I am a very visual person. You can also use something like this, like a planner. This is a nice planner that I bought at Hobby Lobby, I think, but I never used it because I suck at writing things down. So this is from like a different year. I think it's 2017 to 2018, but I wrote a few things in it. But if you're more disciplined than me and don't use as many spreadsheets as I do, you can do something like this. It's got like the calendar dates. You can write things down. But what I do use a lot more often is to-do lists. And you can just use a regular piece of paper for that if you want to. But I love to use this little notepad that I got. It's a 7-day-a-week to-do list. And you can see it's got Monday, Tuesday, you fill in what date it is. So it doesn't matter if you forget to do a to-do list for like a week. You're not wasting any paper, which I love. And you can write down everything that you need to do and check it off or cross it off, white it out, whatever you feel satisfying for you to do after you've accomplished something. Another thing that writers like to do is use a writing tracker. Now, RJ Blaine has a wonderful, and I mean a wonderful, awesome spreadsheet that you can download, and then I'll try to find the link to that she shares for free, that shows you, like, you can use it for the whole year to show how much you need to write, your writing goals. It's a really detailed spreadsheet that will calculate how much you need to write on something and help you keep track of your writing. There's also a really great website out there called Write Track that I use like religiously. Anytime I'm writing, I use it. It basically is the same thing as a calendar, and you just stick in like what your goal is. Like if you want to write 40,000 words, you stick in that as your target goal of how many words you want. You stick in how many days you want to do this writing in. So if you want to write it in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, you put the dates in there, and it will tell you exactly how much you need to write for each day, and you can fill that in. It will adjust according on how much you write each day. So that's really cool. Story Origin also has something very similar to that. That is a really good tool, and it is also free. I think Scrivener also has something like that. I haven't used it, but I know a lot of authors use Scrivener. But there's all kinds of writing tracking tools that you can get out there. There's also a few that you can get for your phone that are like apps. So there's all kinds of writing trackers out there. Another thing that some people like, especially us visual people, is Kanban boards. And Kanban boards are like, they visually depict your work and the various stages of that work and the execution of getting it from point A to point B to point C until you get done with it. So it's for someone who wants to be very detailed, and especially for plotters, I think would really be something that they could use to even plot a book. But basically it breaks down your entire task into multiple little tasks until you go through the whole process and are done with it. And it's also really good if you are working with a co-author or you're working with other marketers and you want someone to be able to see what you're doing and where you're at. So there's also online calendars. I use Google Calendar a lot, especially for like my newsletter swaps and things like that. I always put them in Google Calendar, so it'll remind me on my phone, hey, you were supposed to be putting your newsletter out today. And I'm like, oh God, I gotta do my newsletter. And it's got all my information in there, who I'm swapping with, the links, anything that I need to put in there is in my calendar. And then there's also this online one called Team Up, and it is amazing. I used it when I was doing a blog management for Rogue Skies. I was the set leader for that set, and I was also over the web team. And on the web team, we were all writing an article each day. So I had, I think, 4 or 5 different people, and I would color code it and say, okay, you're going to write an article on this subject on this day, and you're going to write an article on this other subject on the other day. And it helped us all collaborate together and see who needed to post what on what day, what kind of post it was, because we had different types of articles. We had listicles, we had articles on writing craft, and we had book tags. So it's a really good way to organize, and especially if you're going to collaborate with someone else, I really, really would like to recommend Team Up. So those are my tips for today. So a few little ways that you can stay organized and manage your time and try to balance everything that we as authors have to balance. I hope that these tips have helped you. If you have any questions, you can always email me at info@fiction-atlas.com, or you can message me on Facebook, and I will respond to you as quickly as I can and help you out. And if you ever have any marketing questions, I'm always there to talk to you. So, don't be shy. It might take me a little while to get back to you if I'm working with another client, but I will always get back to you and try to give you the best advice that I can. That's all for me. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your month. Stay safe, and remember, it's always time to go indie now.
Many thanks to CL Cannon. That was a mountain of information. I have several of the links she mentioned already in the description, and I'll go through it again and make sure that I get all the links in there. For some reason, YouTube didn't like the Team Up link, but I'll go back and put it in there at some point. But I know it's not the comment section part of our show yet, but I had to share just this one comment because this is exactly what I thought the first time I saw the video, because I watched the video earlier and I was going, holy crap, that is a lot of spreadsheets.
CL Cannon is so freaking smart. She always has amazing tips. Like, I really enjoy watching those because I learned so much.
And just a quick cheap plug, if you want to learn a lot more about marketing, her conversation with Evan Gao on our Crossroads episodes was very, very good, and it had a lot of information there too. So go to our front page, go to the Crossroads season 1. It's the season finale of season 1, so it's right there. Or actually, it's the mid-season finale, I should say. Crossroads will be back very soon, but that is the last Crossroads episode we posted. It's Evan Gao and Courtney Cannon. If you don't know who Evan Gao is, he's the creator and owner of Story Origins. So the two of them had quite the marketing conversation. It was pretty awesome.
That episode needs to be required listening. Like, for anybody who's like, what do I need to do about marketing? Watch this first, then come ask questions, because those two, I mean, wow.
Sometimes I really love doing this, and that was one of those times where I was just sitting there with a notebook. I literally was sitting there with a notebook, writing shit down as they were talking because it was amazing. But yeah, so that being said, thank you, Miss Courtney Cannon. You're awesome. You're the best, and we love you. And thank you so much for doing that and for doing that on such short notice. That was my fault. I didn't let her know that we were doing a show this week, but she got it done anyway, and I really appreciate that. And she was all for it, so that was well worth it. Speaking of well worth it, well, maybe well worth it, maybe. To piggyback a little bit, it kind of bleeds into the Audible Gate story just a tad, but we have a couple of other entities entering the fray and sweetening the pot maybe a little bit for people if they want to join into a new venture or an old venture that wants to renew itself. And I'll let Katie explain right now.
All right. Well, since we just touched on Audible Gate, I'm going to start with the audiobook first. And Findaway Voices has been around for a while, and they've kind of always been like the second choice to Audible, because we all know that Amazon has got 80% of the market share when it comes to the book world. But Findaway Voices has been kind of taking up the disgruntled authors from Audible Gate, and now that they are released from having to be tied down with those 7-year contracts, they're telling authors, come on over, join us. We're respected. We joined with the Alliance of Independent Authors, which, if anybody out there knows, if you've got a seal of approval from the Alliance of Independent Authors, that is a giant thumbs up in our industry. So Findaway Voices has partnered up. They are now approved, or they have been approved, but they are now even more approved by the Alliance of Independent Authors. And they're saying, hey, we're going to give you guys, if you come over from Audible, a little extra bonus, a little extra 10% bonus on your sales for those authors who are jumping ship and coming on over. Now, Findaway Voices is a platform just like Audible ACX that provides you with a way to get your book onto the market in audio. You still need to have a producer and a voice, a narrator, in order to get the book created in the audio format, and they can help facilitate finding those. But they provide the platform that allows your book to be sent out to all of the other channels. They do include Audible as one of their channels, but there are so many other channels besides Audible that your book can be in and be sold through. So they're providing this wonderful extra 10% bonus as a, sweeten the pot thing. Come on over, join us, walk away from ACX.
Can I mention something before you jump into the other one?
Okay, yeah.
Keep going, but I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention something.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I'm wondering, and I don't know if anybody else is, but where the hell is Mark Coker in this? I mean, this is the opportunity. He's like Carmen Sandiego. Where the hell did you go, Mark? Where's Waldo? Right? He's in a crowded room, and where is he? What is he doing? I mean, this is the opportunity Smashwords has been waiting for to jump on, because they have the partnership with Findaway Voices. I mean, they are joined at the hip, and it's like, dude, get some audiobook production done and make it happen.
Draft to Digital. Hell, when you publish through Draft to Digital, which, Smashwords was the granddaddy, Draft to Digital made improvements on top of them. The minute you publish your book with Draft to Digital, what's the first thing they go? Oh, would you like to do an audio book? Here's Findaway Voices. So, I mean, they really, promote Findaway Voices, and that's what really gave Findaway Voices a leg up, was getting that partnership with the other aggregators out there that are getting books into other marketplaces.
Smashwords does the same thing, but he upcharges up the tilt. I mean, it's just like, that's the thing, is like, Draft to Digital is like, go right here, this is what it costs, But it's crazy.
It does cost a little bit to produce an audiobook, and one of the things that Audible offered was the royalty share option. Now, I'm not 100% sure if Findaway Voices has a similar royalty share option. You'll have to double check with them when you sign up. But they do offer the ability to find a producer. They offer the platform to put your book on. They are the aggregator that takes in all of the money and then distributes the royalties. And they do take, I think it's a 10% cut. It's really not a bad deal going through Findaway Voices. The only caveat I would say, and I actually had a client come to me the other day asking about Audible and getting their book out there, because Audible is one of the channels that you can send your book through Findaway Voices. I would be very careful about turning that channel on right now. I would do all of the other channels aside from it if you can, because any contract that Findaway Voices has with Audible or ACX is probably going to be similar to the contracts you would be signing if you were publishing through Audible or ACX. So you're still going to be affected in that vein with some of these Audible Gate issues. So for the time being, if you can opt out for now, that's my recommendation. Findaway Voices is a great platform to use, but keep an eye on the Audible channel at the moment. Don't jump into it if you can stop yourself. Nice. Now, that said, along with trying to tease people away from Amazon just as a book publishing company, Barnes & Noble Press, they are sweetening their deal in order to attract more indie authors. Now, Barnes & Noble Press has been around in many iterations over the years. We've had Nook Press, we've had just the Nook Pubbit. It's been in so many different names since I started in publishing, and their longevity is a bit questionable.
My favorite paperweight. Yeah, it's had a lot of names.
Yeah. So I hesitate when I mention Barnes & Noble. I would love to be able to champion them because they are like the last standalone big box bookstore in America. All the other
ones. And they know that they're
like,
gasping for breath right now.
So. Yes. So it's nice to see that they're coming out again with a new offer. So according to a press release from Barnes & Noble, effective immediately, Barnes & Noble authors will receive a flat 70% royalty rate for ebook sales. Which is nice because if you know, going through any of the other channels, it can be a fluctuation, 60, 65%, 70%, 35% in some markets, 70% in others. A flat 70% across the board is great. That allows you as the author, as the rights holder, to retain more of the royalty income from your work. So this is good. They will also be accelerating payments. So instead of a 60-day in arrears wait, now it'll only be 30 days. So speedier payments. That's also a good thing. That's something that might tempt people over. They're going to be expanding their merchandising options, as well as curating ads, which is something we haven't been able to do on Nook. So being able to create ads for your book right there where people are buying it is always a benefit. That's something that Kindle's done really well with. You know, the AMS platform, as wonky and as hard to navigate as it is, it does advertise your book in the place where people are actually buying the book, which is important when we're trying to sell our books and get people to not only look at the book that they're looking at, but go, oh, hey, wait, that one's in the similar genre. Let me look at that one. It could be yours. So it's good to see that Barnes & Noble, their publishing arm is trying to entice readers over. Yep. But again, they have been kind of inconsistent over the years, so only time will tell whether or not it's worth it. However, if you're going to go wide anyways, it doesn't hurt to go direct with Barnes & Noble and see if you can reap some of those benefits.
I think the other thing that will help too is what Barnes & Noble is best at, which is getting authors in the store and getting them to do signings and readings and things like that. So if they're going to offer these incentives, that might be a surefire incentive that they'll offer come down the road when we get out of this mess that we're in currently in life. But yeah, I think
that really depends on the store. And I've experienced this myself with various stores in various areas, even in my own city. The store in Henderson absolutely loves bringing in as many people as possible, but the store in Northtown is kind of hesitant when it comes to bringing people in. So it's really store to store. And that was another benefit that Nook Press, I think was the iteration it was back then, when they said that authors who published through them, if they were doing good, they could have in-store signings. And it's like, you know, you should actually make that just a regular thing, because that's what indie bookstores do.
Yep.
Indie bookstores are especially very good when it comes to bringing the community into their store. And how do they do that? They welcome the indie authors. They welcome the local authors to bring them in, because they know the local author is going to bring in as many people as they personally can. And by advertising that local author, they're helping not only the community, they're raising awareness about authors in the community, and they're getting people to come to their store. They become an integral part of the community when they do this. Yeah. And the big box stores have always been very hesitant about that. So they need to adopt a more, let's get more people in, let's get more content going, let's have more story times, let's do things that make people want to come into the store.
Yeah. Well, before we get into some more news, I wanted to get the chat involved, because we got some really vocal folks out there going on right now.
Did we hit awesome. A nerve?
Yeah. Well, Vanessa says, "Don't diss on my Nook, man." Well, look, but hey, mine was nice for
not 5 months of work. Nook. I was just talking about the inconsistency of Barnes & Noble's publishing arm, because if you look at their history,
I think she was aiming that at me because I called it a paperweight. I think she was aiming.
Okay, I was going to say, because Barnes & Noble has had a very weird history with publishing.
She said, "That'll be awesome once I go wide and finish the last book of the series." And she's got a great point here. Not that she didn't have great points before. That was
that's an absolutely wonderful point right there. If you get in on the ground floor on something new, like being able to do ads on Nook, you're going to do better because you're getting in before the rush. Once everyone floods in, it becomes harder and harder and more expensive to do the same ads.
See, so she confirms. And then JD said he had a charming exchange with the manager. This is also a really great point that Stuart made, which is Findaway Voices has a 50% discount sherry thing. It's a really, JD said, "Good to know, Miss Stewart," and hi, Regine. Hi, Regine. Regine missed that episode of Crossroads. I don't know how. Regine is like one of my great contributors there, but so
that one needs to be required listening for.
Well, this is awesome anybody. Too, and I agree with this. Bookmark this video, and so much information, and we try to put it all in there. I wanted to put this comment up there by Mr. Joshua Panatellarosco. Yes,
thank you, sir.
And there you go. Audible is a house of lies.
The thing is, they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and instead of doing right by the people providing their content, they just continued to do the, "I didn't do it. No, it wasn't me. No, it's gaslighting. Mm-hmm. It's gaslighting the people who are providing the content that keeps them going. The only way to make them fix this is to show them they're not the only game in town."
And Tim, I would definitely check out Findaway Voices. I would check out Findaway Voices is really not where you want to go. You want to go to Drafted Digital or to Smashwords, or through an aggregate that Findaway Voices uses, because then you can get all the production thing that you need to get through that. I mean, Findaway Voices will provide that for you as well, but
it streamlines and connects everything, which makes it a lot easier.
It makes everything in kind of a one-stop shop kind of idea,
and that's the whole purpose of aggregators is instead of going to Nook and to Kobo and to Sony and to iBooks to get your reporting, you can go for, I think Drafted Digital is a 5 to 10% fee to do the accounting, basically, to provide it in one spot and show you where your sales were, from which outlet, when your royalties are coming in, and to make the payment to you. It's so much easier, and it's worth that 5 to 10% accounting fee is what I always called it, in order to do that. Because let's face it, as C.L. Cannon even said, we have so many things to do as indie authors. We need things that make our lives just a little bit easier.
Yeah. Well, speaking of making our lives a little bit easier, and making our viewing habits a little easier, this weekend it opened today. This 2021 Slamdance Film Festival goes to the 25th, and for $10, man, I'm telling you, this is the best bargain out there. You're going to get 100 different films You got documentary features and shorts. You got narrative features and shorts. You've got episode television, future television show episodes being brought about into this thing. There is incredible art being produced and made and presented by Slamdance. Slamdance does an amazing job of what they're doing, and for $10 you can enjoy for 2 weeks an incredible amount of films. And really, and I want to mention something in particular that Slamdance is doing that is super amazing and super important. It's called the Unstoppable program. This is the first year of this program, and what this program is, what it entails, is it is films made by either a disabled person or featuring a disabled person, like an actor or crew member, talking about disabled issues, or making films. And this Own Voices program is all about that. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to spoil alert, because I wrote a blog post today the link is in there about some of the films that I've enjoyed in the narrative section of the Slamdance Film Festival already. And of course, I've done quite a few interviews that you can check on our YouTube page as well, and many more to come. I've got quite a handful still to go and put out there, but I will do a little bit of a spoiler on the blog and tell you that this is the best program of all the programs that they have listed. They've got quite a few great programs. They have a very famous one called the Anarchy Short program, which is all kinds of crazy, weird crap that doesn't fit into any category, and it's an awesome program. It's the one program that sells out because it goes out. It's a midnight showing on a Saturday, and it's the program that sells out first every year at Slamdance, because it's just an awesome time, and people go in their pajamas, and it's crazy. It's a real fun event. Unfortunately, this year it's not as fun because it's there's no event, but this program, this Unstoppable program, has some of the best made films I have ever seen in it. It is fantastic. It is great. And I talk a lot about a lot of the films that are already listed there. So go check out my blog, and then check out some of the interviews I did. The interviews are also embedded into the blog, so you can watch them as you're reading the blog as well, and check that out. But from good comes the time that Joe's going to get a little twitchy, and you're going to get a little twitchy with me here today. I am getting on a soapbox to end our show tonight. Recently, just about a week or so ago, the Film Independent Institute, which is, for those of you who don't know, IFC on your cable box or your Roku or whatever system you use, the IFC channel, which is the Independent Film Channel, they do the Independent Spirit Awards every year. It is the show, it's kind of like the punk rock show, and it usually takes place the Saturday before the Academy Awards. So Saturday is the Independent Spirit Awards, Sunday is the Academy Awards. So you don't get all dolled up for the Spirit Awards. You come in some casual, but people still get like fancy and stuff like that, because it's a lot of people who aren't also nominated for an Academy Award. The Spirit Awards is my personal library. I love the Spirit Awards so much because they introduced me to so many films that I had even no idea about, or I've heard just a little bit about. And that I'm a cinephile. You can all verify that I know a lot of films that aren't, mainstream and out there. So for them to do that for me is really important for me. Well, this year, I was thinking this is going to be amazing because really, Amazon Prime, VOD, there's so many great films that have put themselves out there and really gotten some good coverage, because you get to a point on your Prime, you get to a point on your Netflix where you just hit a wall and you're searching. You go to the depths. You go to the black pages, the back end of the Netflix catalog, and you look at these films and you find these interesting, obscure films because you notice somebody or you've read the blurb and you enjoy it. And that is usually the films that Independent Spirit Awards celebrates. And I was thinking this year it's going to be great. They're going to have a lot of obscurity. They're going to have a lot of great things. And I get it. I understand the concept of award shows. It is to bring attention to the people that already have a lot of attention. And that in turn gives you a chance to play your ads, make your money for the year, and all that. I get it. I understand that. And the Spirit Awards mixes that in there. They're not immune to that. This is not all obscure like French New Wave or stuff like that. It is there are some mainstream films and some crossover between the Spirit Awards and the Academy Awards. A lot of guys, there's usually 1 or 2 nominations from the Spirit Awards that it also has an Academy Award nomination attached to it or is part the same thing. But this year. This year, the only thing that has been really special is the directing and writing categories for the Independent Spirit Awards, because 90% of it features women. Something that the Academy and a lot of award shows have missed. So I'm real excited about that. However, the diversity ends there. The first feature category and the feature film category are films that have basically pumped a lot of money into advertising and put themselves out there. And one of them, of course, features Chadwick Boseman, who's going to get a lot of love posthumously, and rightfully so. It's a really great movie, actually, but that's fine, and I'm totally good with that. And I'm totally good with that movie getting a lot of press. That is actually the name of that movie is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and that's available on Amazon. But 60 to 70% of the films nominated are either on Amazon or Hulu, and they're promoted by Amazon or Hulu. They're not the obscure, deep in film. And I figure. This year that might be the case a little bit more because of the idea that people aren't making films right now and all that. But truly, honestly, if this is the trend and the way that it's going, I'm losing something that's very valuable to me. And I don't know, I'm being selfish. I understand that. I get it. It's not all about you, Joe, but in this case it is. Because I'm one of the people who've been watching the Independent Spirit Awards for about 25 years. And it's been around that long. Yes, it has. It's just an amazing award show. A lot of fun. Usually they have a comedian go in there and he roasts the crap out of the crowd. It's awesome. And they have little skits that they do. And it's a really great show along with everything else. But, yeah, I mean, this year is chock-filled with celebrity, the it crowd, the people who are the it people right now. And there is, I mean, with the Golden Globe nominations, I'm sure you've seen article after article. This has been weirdest thing I've seen out there, which is the Golden Globe snubs. I mean, everybody is getting publicity with the snubs. There's so many articles about snubs. More than I've ever seen before. And the Golden Globes have kind of waned away from all. They've become very corporatist. But the Independent Spirit Awards is getting a lot of that backlash too from IndieWire and a lot of other things where, there should have been some thought put behind some of these nominations, and some of these people out there are really not getting recognized. And that's sad. And that's a tough thing to endure. Losing an institution, it happens. It is part of life, but man, that sucks. I really hope that this is just an anomaly and we go back to the way it was in next year and the year after. Maybe it will take a couple years, maybe, because this year productions are just starting getting going, and they'll probably be more rampant toward the back half of this year. So with that being said, the spirit of award shows, I don't know. I'm sad and frustrated because I'm watching these 100 films at Slamdance, and I'm telling you, this is some of the best stuff I've ever seen. And for me to say that, you have to know that that's not a lightly statement. The amount of creativity and dedication and the opportunity to do something really, really amazing aesthetically, storytelling wise. They're all out there, and it's really amazing. And I hope that a lot of these films get picked up and recognized for that, because that's important. And we're losing a lot if the Spirit Awards can't back us up. And so, Spirit Awards, get your shit together. Get on it. Change it for Joe. Do it for Joe.
Joe, well, I'm supposed to do the bad news. I'm supposed to do the bad news, not you. I don't want to see Joe sad. Aww.
Well, let's leave on a happy note and say, as always, this is a great show. We have some jam-packed news, but it doesn't end there, because Katie, you got something going on tomorrow. Tell everybody about that.
That's right. In my continuing coverage for Audiblegate, I reached out to author Susan May and Colleen Cross, who are the heads of the Fair Group for Rights Holders on Facebook group that broke the story and have been, leading the charge along with the Authors Guilds in order to really fight for our rights. Well, I'm going to have both of them tomorrow on Spilling Ink for an in-depth interview and get all the juicy details that you might not know about, because they've been the ones behind the scenes. So you do not want to miss tomorrow's episode of Spilling Ink, 5 p.m. Pacific, which is 8 p.m. Eastern time. And it'll be on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/spillinginkshow.
Go check it out. And then on Sunday, during our roundtable discussion for This Week in Indies, we have a continuing conversation about the CASE Act. And we actually have the perspective of a non-American who will be joining us, somebody who is actually in the chat right now. Hopefully she's still there. I guess my rant lost a lot of people, but we will be discussing the CASE Act, and we'll look at it from other perspectives, along with the roundtable discussion. We have the amazing JD Estrada with some amazing music to tell you about on Sunday as well, with his indie music review, and CL Cannon, of course, will be along with the Indie Connection. Keep looking at YouTube for the Go Indie Now channel, because I will be posting rampantly all weekend long more Slamdance interviews. I've got a handful still to go, and I'm doing a little bit more on the weekend that I'll post next week. And then we're going to start live. We're going to start back with programming. We've got a great special edition of Joe's Bar. We're going down under, everybody. We're going to meet some Australian authors and talk to some Aussies next Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern.
That's going to be
Go ahead.
Sorry. So that's going to be a really good time.
Yes. They know how to party. And I'm really, really looking forward to that. That'll be next weekend. And then, a couple weeks after that is LitCon. For those of you who haven't signed up or don't know about it, LitCon is an online book conference, March 5th through the 7th. There's a lot of great stuff we're doing. I'm taking part in, of course, of the LitCon Lounge, which is the fun little hangout, but I will also be part of the screenwriting at LitCon. I'll be doing a lot of those panels and doing Q&A with the awesome Phoebe Darkling. So that's going to be awesome as well. With that being said, I think we've exhausted our fans and our news, and it's late. And, because it's late night. It's late night news with Go Indie Now, right? And we'll be back next month with another great newscast. Why, Katie?
Because it's always time to go indie now.
And with that, we say goodnight.